Good day, everyone. I am Jericho Iron P. Cariaga from Visit Science 3A, your future educator. So today, I'm here now po to present my presentation. So let's start now po to my presentation. And our topic for today is all about radiation. So specifically po, understanding ionizing radiation. Today, we begin a journey to investigate one of the most fascinating and influential occurrences in the fields of physics and health sciences, which is ionizing radiation. So, ionizing radiation po is a form of energy released by atoms in the form of electromagnetic waves or particles that plays a crucial role po in various aspect po sa ating lives po. Pwede din po sa medical diagnostic, and energy production. So, next slide po. In this session, we will delve deeper into the various facets of ionizing radiation. We will start by exploring the diverse sources of ionizing radiation, both natural and man-made that surround us, or from cosmic rays to medical X-rays. We will examine also how these sources contribute to the radiation levels we are exposed to daily. And then next, we will tackle the effects of radiation on living organism, as you can see in my slides po, which is sinabi po doon na may sources po and effects. Siyempre po, hindi mawawala po yung explore po natin sa methods or used to detect ionizing radiation. Now, our goal po is to clarify its sources, effects, and detection, which is empowering you to understand its impact on our lives po and environment. So join me in understanding this invisible force. But first, let me state our objective for today. So, at the end of the discussion, the learner should be able to, first one is list of various natural and man-made sources of ionizing radiation. Second po is explain the effects of ionizing radiation on human health, distinguishing between genetic and somatic damage, and then po evaluate the effectiveness of various radiation detection devices and justify their use in different scenarios. Now, after you heard our learning objectives, ano po kaya yung pumapasok rin sa isip nyo? Ano po yung mga curious o yung thoughts po na maaring mailagay po sa ating isipan about po ng sources of radiation? Pwede din po siya sa ano po ba yung nakakapekto po sa ating health? Yan po ay malalaman natin sa mga susunod pong slide. Kaya, ngayon po kung meron po kayong thoughts or parang isip na po sa ating pag-aaralan for today po is i-comment nyo na po yan sa ibaba. Share nyo na po yan. Okay. So now let us start by the answering the question for our introduction in the my right area po sa ating slide, which is what is ionizing radiation? So ano nga ba ito? Based dito sa aking slide is ionizing radiation is a form of radiation that carries free energy to detach electrons from atoms. Which is meaning po is ionizing radiation is a high energy form of radiation that has the ability to strip electrons away from atoms or molecules. A process known as, syempre po, ionization. This occurs because the energy carried by ionizing radiation is significant enough to overcome the forces that hold electrons in their orbits around atomic nuclei. So as a result po, the affected atoms po or molecules become charged particles or ions, which can lead to chemical and physical changes in materials and biological tissues. So, ito daw po pala ay nangyayari dahil ang enerhiyang dala ng ionizing radiation ay sapat upang lampasan ng mga puwersa na nagtatakip sa mga electrons sa kanilang mga orbita sa palibot ng mga atomic nuclei. Bali, yung mga affected na atom na ito o yung molecula ay nagiging charged particles po at tinatawag po silang mga ions. At doon nga nag-undergo na po ng changes, physical changes po or yung sa biological changes po. Now, in our point number 2 po, sinasabi lang po dito, once po yung ionizing radiation ay nagkaroon po ng interaction sa mga buhay na organismo, which is ito po both natural and man and human sources, and can lead to damage for the DNA, other cellular structures. Sinasabi lang po doon na naglilid po ito ng iba't ibang biological na epekto, kagaya nga ng pag-damage ng ating DNA, wherein we all know that our DNA is a molecule responsible for carrying genetic information in cells. So, syempre, kapag nasira yung DNA, ano nangyayari pag na-harm yung DNA natin? Of course, which nagkakaroon ng mutation, lead to mutation, cell death, and cancer, and genetic defects. Sabi lang po sa point number 3 po, yung ionizing radiation daw po can come from the both natural sources and human-made sources, which is, sinasabi lang po dito na ito nga yung nakikita natin sa ating lower part, right sa ating slides po, nang may dalawang sources po ng ionizing radiation. Ito po ay natural sources and human-made sources. Okay, next slide. So, before we proceed po sa ating sources of ionizing radiation, let us tackle the importance of understanding radiation. Now, we have here 6 po na makikita niyo po sa aking slide na understand kung paano natin mas maintindihan yung ionizing radiation. The first one is health and safety, which is understanding the sources of radiation, its impact on living organisms, and how to detect it. It's important for guarding human health and safety. This knowledge enables workers in industries like nuclear power, medicine, and manufacturing. Second po is environmental. Siyempre po napakahalaga para mas ma-allow po natin yung development or monitoring po natin or prevention na strategies. Halimbawa po, nagkaroon po ng mga sa environment po natin, yung mga radioactive substances po, nag-i-involve po din yung mga radioactive substances na para mas makita po yung level po ng radiation po nila. Like for example po sa scenario po sa factory, di ba po, halimbawa yung radioactive materials po or nagkaroon po ng experiences na leak. Ano po ba yung leak? Yung pagtagos po nung parang oil or something. Ngayon po nagli-leading po yun ng potential contamination of the surrounding environment. Ngayon, ano po yung niya? Siyempre po yung radiation levels po doon sa area na yun, maaaring masuri ng mga otoridad ang lawak ng kontaminasyon at gumawa ng mga hakbang upang limitahan ang pagkakalantad sa publiko. Isa din yung paglikas sa mga kalapit na residente kasi po magkakaroon po yan ng effect po sa ating katawan. The third point po is medical. So understanding radiation sources and detection po is essential in medical imaging technique po. Tulad po nung ginagamit po natin sa mga hospital, X-ray, CT scan, PET scans, alam naman po natin na nagpa-play siya ng crucial role po sa diagnosing diseases po and planning treatments. Our fourth point here is the nuclear security and non-proliferation, where yung radiation po comes from how to detect it is crucial for maintaining nuclear security and stopping the spread of nuclear weapons. The fifth example here is the emergency response and preparedness. So meaning to say po, yung event ng nuclear accident or sa mga war, then syempre may terrorist attack po doon na nag-involve ng radioactive materials o yung natural disaster affecting yung mga facilities po. Siyempre po, understanding radiation sources and effect is critical for effective emergency response and public safety. So, para magkaroon po ng safety po at treatment dun sa mga taong nasalanta nung war po na yun because of nuclear atomic bombing po. Last is the research and innovation. One of the most important po, of course, yung research. Kasi, di ba, kaya tayo na may mga medicines, mga technology, machines, one of the factors yung research. So, sa radiation, it helps siya para mahalaga na mas mapag-aralan natin yung sensitibo nito, yung accuracy nito, at yung efficiency, para ma-detect and pag-measure ng radiation levels. Next slide. So now we can proceed na sa sources of ionizing radiation. As what I said earlier, that there's two sources of ionizing radiation. At ito nga yung natural sources and man-made sources. So first is the natural sources. Natural sources. From the word natural, hindi siya gawa lang ng tao. Natural sources of ionizing radiation such as radon gas, cosmic rays are present in our environment and contribute to the background radiation that we are exposed on daily basis. Yung radiation na to, typically, tandaan nyo po, low levels and not harmful under normal condition. However, it is important to be aware of and understanding these sources in order to manage our exposure. Especially yung area na higher yung radon levels po at saka yung higher altitudes wherein yung radiation levels nun may be elevated. Next po, syempre yung man-made sources are created through human activities and have various application in medicine. Bali, hindi ko na po babasahin yung thought since limit na rin po yung oras natin. Ay, isip na din po ako sa 10 minutes. Pero ito nga po. So, which is yung man-made sources nga po is human activities po siya. Na masabi nga natin dito, crucial siya para mag-manage yung exposure po para sa safety minimize health risk. So, ano yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa? Yung natural sources from the natural and man-made sources from the human activities. Okay, next slide. So, next slide po natin is yung example po ngayon ng ating sources of ionizing radiation. So, in natural sources po, I have 4. These are cosmic rays, terrestrial radiation, radon gas, and external radiation. On the other hand, the man-made, we have 5 po, which is medical application, nuclear power plants, industrial uses, and consumer products and research facilities. So, unahin muna po natin ang natural sources. Okay. Number 1 here is the cosmic rays. Cosmic rays from space that constantly bombard the Earth. Meaning po yun, yung cosmic rays ay yung high energy particles that originate from sources outside of our solar system. Katulad po yung sun, yung mga stars po natin, which is may mga ultraviolet diba po, radiation po sila. Yung mga particles na to ay nagta-travel through space and can penetrate the Earth's atmosphere. So, kapag nag-interact po kasi yung molecules tsaka yung atmosphere sa Earth natin, sa Earth surface natin, ano mangyayari? The Earth is constantly bombarded by these cosmic rays, which can have various effects on our planet. Ayun po. Number 2 po is terrestrial radiation. In a simple terms po, is originate from radioactive elements like uranium, thorium, and potassium-40, which is makikita lang po natin yan sa Earth crust. And this radiation can be found in common materials like soil, rocks, water, and building materials made from substances. The amount of terrestrial radiation a person exposed depends on where they are geographically located and how much of these radioactive materials are present in their surroundings. Okay, now for our number 3, the radon gas. Radon is a radioactive gas that is produced from the breakdown of uranium and thorium in the ground. It is invisible, has no taste, tandaan po natin yun, has no taste, smell, so it can be hard to detect without specific tools. Radon can build up in the buildings. Ito po yung sa buildings po natin. Dito po sila ginagamit, particularly sa basements, lower floors. And breathing it in can raise the chances po of developing lung cancer. Ngayon kapag naamoy mo yun, magkakaroon po ng lung cancer. Or primary po source po kasi yun ng natural radiation kapag na-exposure po yung individual sa radon gas. Next one po is external radiation. Before I proceed to external radiation po, syempre kung merong may external po, of course may internal radiation. So ano nga ba yung internal radiation po? Tandaan po natin ang internal radiation po ay nag-occurs po when radioactive materials are ingested, inhaled, or otherwise absorbed into the body. Example, yung mga nakukonsume po ng ating katawan is yung mga contaminated na food or yung water at yung mga medical procedures po na nanggagaling sila sa process ng natural sources. Ito ay may radiation pa rin, di ba po? Now once yung particle na yun, kapag pumasok po yun sa ating katawan kasi po yung particle na yun na-expose din po yun sa radiation from these internal sources. Ngayon, syempre po kapag pumasok po yan, ano mangyayari? Magkakaroon po ng harmful effect po sa ating tissues and organs. na nagkakalid din po ng damaging po sa ating DNA. So since yung internal radiation po, yun po yung sa loob na may radioactive materials, while external radiation comes from the sources outside the body. Example nga po here is the radioactive isotopes such as carbon-14, potassium-40, and hydrogen-3 tritium po are naturally present po in the human body. So these isotopes contribute to the background radiation exposure what we receive. Ito po. Carbon-14, isa-isahin po natin sila. Ang carbon-14 po ay pinoproduce po niya yun sa atmosphere through the cosmic rays po. Interaction po taken up the plants through photosynthesis. Ngayon po, humans acquire carbon-14 by consuming plant-based foods or by consuming animals that have consumed these plants. Carbon-14 undergoes radioactive decay, emitting low-energy beta particles. Next one po is potassium-40, is a naturally occurring radioactive isotope of potassium. It can be found in small amounts in all potassium-containing foods such as bananas and potatoes. Potassium-40 decays through both beta decay and electron capture process. Siyempre po, yung tritium, napakahalaga din po yan sa ating cosmic rays interaction din po yan kasi artificially po yan during nuclear reaction. Ayun po. Now, punta naman po tayo sa ating man-made sources, which is ang una po natin is the medical application. Ito po yung mga sinabi po dito, yung x-rays, yung tomography, CT scan, and fluoroscopy. Ito po yung mga imaging technique provide na important po sa information for medical diagnosis and treatment planning. So it is essential to balance their benefits with potential risk from exposure to ionizing radiation. Medical professionals carefully consider factors such as patient, age, and health status when determining po yung appropriate usage of these procedures while minimizing unnecessary exposure. Now, for the nuclear power plant, generate po siya ng electricity through controlled fission. Alam po natin, ang nuclear reactors po ay nag-generate po ng electricity through controlled fission. Ngayon po, yung low carbon po nito, yung energy sources, significantly reduce po siya. Nagre-reduce po siya sa greenhouse gas emission po natin, which is yung po yung parang radiation po doon. Siyempre, ang ating industrial uses, napakahalaga din po niyan dahil ito po yung ginagawa po sa ating construction, sa aerospace and manufacturing po. Ayun po. Next one po is the consumer products. Yung nasabi po dito, yung sa consumer products, katulad po ng smoke detectors, ang smoke detectors po ay nag-use po siya ng small amount of americium-241. And yung radioactive isotopes po niya. Ito po yung nakakatulong na material po para ma-detect po yung ionizing po o yung air inside po dun sa detector. Ngayon, by following these proper handling and disposal procedures po, you can minimize the potential risks associated with consumer products, like containing small quantities of radioactive materials o yung americium-241 nga o tritium po based in diols and luminous sponges. So for the last one po is the research facilities. Here mahalaga ito since dito nila malalaman yung radiation level. Sabi nga po dito, laboratories and research facilities use ionizing radiation for various purposes, including scientific research, material analysis, and particle physics experiments. Now, natapos po na tayo sa sources. Now, we are done on the sources of ionizing radiation. Let's move forward now on the effects of ionizing radiation on humans. In terms po sa effect, we have two kinds of effect po. Ito po ay genetic and somatic damage. So, genetic damage and somatic damage, it refers to different types of biological harm caused by ionizing radiation. dinidistinguish po yun yung target cells po and the consequences of the organism and its offspring po. So first is genetics. So what are, ito po yung genetic damage po natin. The target cells po is the germ cells, which is the sperm and eggs. The nature of damage of this is involves the changes of mutation in the DNA, which is yung sinasabi ko po kanina, na kung saan kapag yung radiation po tumama sa ating katawan, magkakaroon po ng harmful mutation po sa ating DNA. Ngayon po, ang tandaan din po natin na ang genetic damage po ay napapasa po yun sa ating future generation. And if the affected germ po, cells are involved in reproduction. Doon po siya naging po. Ayun po. Ngayon, ano po yung naging consequences nga po nun? Mutation in germ cells, which is kapag na-inherit po yun sa ating offspring, ayun na nga po, magkakaroon po ng long-term impact. Ano po yung sinasabi ng long-term impact? Napapasa po sa generation. Now, somatic damage po. The target cells of somatic damage is the somatic cells, or the all body cells except germ cells. Nature of damage, somatic damage involves changes or mutation po in the DNA of somatic cell. These mutations affect the individual exposed to the radiation but are not passed on to offspring. Ayan po. Tandaan po natin, take note po, ang somatic damage po ay hindi po napapasa sa offspring. Ayan po. Ngayon ang example po natin sa ating genetic damage po, Down syndrome or trisomy 21 po. Cystic fibrosis or sickle cell or anemia could be theoretically be influenced by radiation-induced mutation if germ cells are affected. Ngayon po ang somatic damage po, leukemia, skin cancer, thyroid cancer. Ayan po. Lalo na kapag nag-exposure po sa sun. So, nakikita po natin ngayon yung genetic damage. Ito po yung mga example po kanina sa ating kaninang slide po, which is ito po yung Down syndrome po, yung cystic fibrosis po, at saka yung anemia. Ang Down syndrome po, as cystic fibrosis and anemia are primarily genetic or acquired condition. Pero hindi po siya talaga nagkakos ng ionizing radiation. Ngayon, ano po yung pinaka-context po niya doon? Excuse me po, pasensya na po. So, ang ionizing radiation exposure to high levels of ionizing radiation can increase the risk of genetic mutation in germ cells. These mutations might in turn contribute to the development of various genetic disorders. Ngayon, ang cystic fibrosis is less clear. Ang anemia naman can be more direct consequence of radiation exposure due to the bone marrow damage. Next po is our somatic damage po, while the skin cancer, thyroid, and the leukemia. Mas severe po ito. Kasi po, including po siya ng environmental factors po siya. Pero tandaan po, hindi po siya napapasa kasi po somatic damage lang po siya. Kaya po nagkakaroon ng skin cancer, syempre yung sources po nung light po nung sun. Di ba po, radiation. Ayun, tapos artificial sources po for the medical treatments po. Ayun po, for the nuclear. Katulad po, kaya ko po nasabi yung somatic damage and genetic damage is mayroon siyang meron na nagiging cause po yung nuclear accidents because nagkakaroon ng developing these types ng cancer. Katulad po nung nangyari dito sa ano nga po iyon, ang Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors. So look at the effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors. Ito po yung nangyari on August 6, 1945. Hiroshima became the target of the world's first atomic bomb dropped by the United States during World War II po. Dito po ay 3 days later po ang nangyari po, August 9, 1945. Yung Nagasaki naman po, yung nahit ng atomic bomb. Di ba po, after 3 days, Nagasaki naman po. Ang Hiroshima po, lugar po yan hindi po sila mga human or people. Lugar po siya. Ngayon, ano nangyari? sa immediate impact po nun, yung atomic bomb po instantly killed tens of thousands of people in each city and nag-cause po ng devastation. Survivors po for severe pains like skin cancer, injure po sa radiation exposure. Kasi po yung atomic bomb, may radiation po yun. At doon po nagkaroon ng mga nagkaroon po ng mga tinatawag na nagkaroon po sila ng experience na acute radiation syndrome. Kasi po yung acute radiation syndrome, kapag most higher yung pag-exposure mo ng radiation, ganun po yung nagkakaroon po ng acute radiation syndrome. Skin cancer, leukemia, nagkakaroon po ng increased risk po sa kanilang effects sa human health po nila. So, pwede din po yung other radiation-related illness po. At ito din po yung nangyari sa Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Ano po ito? Noong April 26 daw po, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine experienced a catastrophic explosion and the fire during a safety test in the fourth reactor. Ngayon po, nangyari po dito, nag-meltdown po yung yung sa baba. At nag-release po yung nag-release po siya ng radioactive materials, which is radiation po. Ano po yung naging health effects po nito? In the thyroid cancer, which is yung kaninang nasabi ko po kanina, leukemia, at iba pa pong mga radiation-related illness. Essential na po nabubulol po. And also, based on my research pa, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster was a catastrophic event that had far-reaching impacts on human health. Po yan, history po talaga, na kung saan nagre-remind po sa atin na napakahalaga po talaga na magkaroon po ng safety and oversight po sa ating nuclear technology. Ayun po. Ito po yung video. Sana napapanood po natin, pero since limited na yung time natin, po tayo. Now, after we done po in our the sources po ng ating ionizing radiation po and the effects of ionizing radiation, magkakaroon po ng somatic po and genetic damage po. Somatic and genetic. So, now we're going to dito na po tayo ngayon sa radiation detection devices. Radiation detection devices are crucial for monitoring and ensuring safety in various scenarios where ionizing radiation is used. Kanina po, pinag-aralan po natin kung ano po yung mga sources ng ating radiation. Pangalawa po, yung kung ano nangyayari kapag kapag pumasok po sa atin yung radiation, lalo na po dun sa genetic damage po. At dun sa somatic nga po na ating napag-aralan kanina. Ngayon po yung radiation detection devices, kung paano natin makokontrol yung mga radiation na to, kung paano natin sila ma-measure yung radiation level po nila. Now, bibigyan ko po kayo ng isang scenario, which is the hospital radiology department po. Sa isang hospital po ng radiology department, various procedures po like X-ray, CT scan, and fluoroscopy involve ionizing radiation. Staff for dosimeters monitor their exposure while GM counters and ionizing chambers are used to regularly check radiation levels in different areas to ensure compliance with CT regulation. Siyempre po, ito po yung magpo-proceed po tayo sa ating scenario, which is napakahalaga po sa isang hospital, meron daw po ng X-ray, CT scan, and fluoroscopy na nagkakaroon ng protect para sa mga staff natin at sa mga patient from radiation risk. Which is, yung hospital na to also uses the Grunmetfog, which the counters and ionizing chambers to regularly check the radiation levels. Yung sinabi ko nga po kanina, para ma-check po yung radiation levels po nila. At ma-compliance po natin yung safety regulations and maintain a safe environment po for everyone involved. Now, environmental monitoring teams use air sampling stations around a nuclear facility to detect any radioactive particles or gases released into the atmosphere. Ngayon po, ang scenario naman po nito kanina po sa Biology Department po sa ating hospital ngayon po ay environmental monitoring near a nuclear facility, which is ito po yung nagre-release po na ating atmosphere po, which is yung surface contamination po, ay nag-monitor din po ng check for contamination po sa ating soil, vegetation, and infrastructure. Now, ang nangyayari po doon, by regularly scanning these surfaces, the monitors can quickly identify and address any areas that may have been affected by radiation, helping to prevent further spread and mitigate potential risks to the environment and public health. Sabi naman po dito, portable survey meters are used during field inspections to ensure that radiation levels in the environment remain within safe limits. By employing these air sampling station surface contamination monitors and portable survey meters, the environmental monitoring teams perform. Mas mapapagaan po. One of the key function po is yung enable po ng environmental protection po natin is yung kwalidad po ng environment, vicinity o yung safety po para sa nuclear power facilities. They are responsible po for the maintenance of safety measures, which in turn boosts the public confidence in regards to safety measures and management of radiation risks. Kumbaga, ang pinag-aaralan po natin ngayon dito is how to monitor the radiation and paano natin makokontrol nga and ma-measure yung radiation level. Now, meron po tayong 6 dito na mga para ma-evaluate po natin yung radiation. Marami po sila actually, pero 6 lang po yung common po na base din sa aking research at dun sa reference po. So this is the evaluation of detection of apparatuses po or yung devices. Okay po. We have 6 po here. And this po is the Geiger counter or the Geiger-Müller counter. Scintillation detectors, semiconductor diode detector, photographic emulsion for the light, cloud chamber, and the bubble chamber. First one here po is the Geiger-Müller counters po. Yan po yung itsura niya sa ating kulay. Ayan po yung itsura po ng ating Geiger-Müller counter. Ngayon, ano pong gamit po nito? Sige po. Let me read po. Are instruments used to detect and measure ionizing radiation named after the physician Hans Geiger and Walter Müller, who invented the device in the early 20th century. Yung Geiger-Müller counters are widely used in various applications including radiation detection in laboratories, nuclear power plants, medical facilities, and environmental monitoring. Commonly used po itong detection devices po nito sa pag-ooperate po ng gas-filled chamber po. Kapag na-operate na po yun, nagbibigyan po siya ng ionized when yung radiation po, nag-interact na po siya dun sa ating pag-measure po. Ang nangyayari po doon, nag-create po ng electrical current na nag-amplify po para ma-detect po ng counter. Ang pinaka-advantages po ng GM counters po natin o Geiger-Müller counters is the sensitivity to various types of ionizing radiation. They can detect alpha particles, di ba? Beta particles, which are smaller and less charged. Ano po natin pakaliit nun, pero nadidetect po nila yon, yung gamma rays po. Ayan. Di ba, gamma rays po, electromagnetic waves po yan. Ayan po. Usually, ito yung kauna-unahan na step para ma-measure po talaga yung radiation levels. And take note po, ionizing radiation po ay mini-measure po nito. Okay? Ang Geiger-Müller counters po, ionizing radiation po ang mini-measure niya. Makakasama po yan sa quiz. So now, for you to understand this scintillation detector po, let me read po. A device that detects ionizing radiation using scintillation process. It converts light into electrical signal for analysis used in medical imaging po, environmental monitoring, and nuclear physics. For you to understand, ito po siya. I have a video here to present to you. And po.
So today, we're going to do a little demonstration of scintillation. So what we've got here there's some LSO crystals, scintillating crystals. These are the kind of crystals that would go inside a PET scanner. And we're going to irradiate them with some X-rays from an X-ray tube. And when we irradiate them, they should glow. And the reason why they're glowing is because the X-rays are kicking electrons out from inside the crystals. And when the electrons drop back into their ground state, they give off blue light. So we should see some blue light when the X-rays irradiate these crystals. And that's what we're going to do next.
Ayan po, makikita po natin yung pag-detect po dyan, yung light po.
We're ready. Let me turn this off. There you go. Physics at work.
So, the video shows various spotting types po. Diba po? Yun po yung parang yung parang interference po ng ating X-ray radiation. Para pong ganun siya.
So today, we're going to do a little demonstration.
Is the semiconductor diode detector, initially created for particle physics, are now extensively utilized for X-ray spectroscopy in various fields like X-ray nga po, fluorescence, and analysis po. Mahalaga po itong semiconductor diode detector po kasi po ito po yung nagdi-detect para ma-measure po yung sensitivity and reliability po ng radiation. Nagpa-performance po siya para yung across fields po is na-perform po ito sa mga healthcare facilities, nuclear industry, and environmental protection po. One of the primary applications of semiconductor diode detectors in a personal dosimeters is radiation workers to monitor their exposure ionizing radiation. These dosimeters po utilize semiconductor or diodes to measure the dose of radiation absorbed by the wearer and providing valuable information for radiation safety and regulatory compliance. Ganyan po siya. Dito po makikita po natin yung definition. Mas maintindihan po. Ayan po yung advantages and disadvantages po ng ating semiconductor. Yan nga po, high cost po talaga siya. Ayan po yung type po ng ating detector. Now, we're going to proceed now to our photographic emulsions po, which is, ito lang po yung parang sa light po, bromide crystals suspended in gelatin. When exposed to light, this crystal undergo a chemical change to create an image on the film. Para po siyang ganito.
George Eastman was a pioneer of popular photography. He helped to make the medium accessible to everyone. But did you know that early in his career, George Eastman would tinker making his own emulsions in his mother's kitchen? So what exactly is a gelatin emulsion, and how can you make one at home? Well, let's find out. First, we need to add some distilled water to our beaker on our hot plate stirrer. Then we're going to add gelatin and allow it to swell and then melt. Once the gelatin has completely melted, we're ready to add our halide. In this case, we're going to use sodium bromide. Next, we're going to take a syringe and we're going to use that to add silver nitrate to our mix. The silver and bromide will combine together to make millions of light-sensitive crystals suspended within the gelatin. This is the basis of all modern photographic material. So, if you've ever shot a roll of film, you've used a gelatin emulsion. If you're ready to make your own emulsions, then join us in the Eastman Museum Darkroom. George Eastman was a pioneer of popular photography. He helped to make the medium accessible to everyone. But did you know that early in his career, George Eastman would tinker making his own emulsions in his mother's kitchen? So what exactly is a gelatin emulsion, and how can you make one at home? Well, let's find out. First, we need to add some distilled water to our beaker on our hot plate stirrer. Then we're going to add gelatin and allow it to swell and then melt. Once the gelatin has completely melted, we're ready to add our halide. In this case, we're going to use sodium bromide. Next, we're going to take a syringe and we're going to use that to add silver nitrate to our mix. The silver and bromide will combine together to make millions of light-sensitive crystals.
Okay, next slide po. For our cloud chamber, the basic construction of cloud chamber consists of sealed chamber na ito po ay about lang po sa vapor or yung gas. Typically, the alcohol or the water vapor po. Ayan. Kapag po nag-cold po siya, tas to below its dew point po, nangyayari po, nagkakaroon po ng transparency. Doon po sa ating window. Para mag-allows po yun ng observation. These charged particles, yung particles po na yun, known as po dun sa ionization tracts. Ngayon po, nagsiserve po siya ng nuclei around which water vapor condenses. Nagpo-forming po siya ng visible clouds. Parang ganito po siya or doon sa trails po.
Today I'm going to be making a cloud chamber to visualize the radiation coming off of some of the material in my room. This is my Geiger counter, which measures radiation and counts per minute, and this is a radioactive piece of pottery. I tested my Geiger counter on my thorium lamp mantle and it seemed to be pretty hot, and the same with the pottery. The reason this pottery is radioactive is because pre-World War II they used to use uranium oxide to get certain colors in paint. Alpha radiation particles are easily stopped by things as thin as a sheet of paper, so it's still safe to hold. Anyway, I'm making a supersaturated solution of alcohol by cooling it down to a very low temperature. Once I have enough clouds with the supersaturated solution, I place the pottery in there and we can see the alpha particles coming off and pushing through the clouds. Today I'm going to be making a cloud chamber to visualize the radiation coming off of some of the material in my room. This is my Geiger counter, which measures radiation and counts per minute, and this is a radioactive piece.
So for the last one is the bubble chamber. Ito naman po yung when a charged particle enters the superheated liquid, which is sinabi po dyan, i-device po siya para ma-visualize po yung tracks po ng electrically charged particles natin through the superheated liquid. Invented po siya ni Donald Glaser in 1952 po. Ayun po, nag-play siya po siya ng significant role po sa ating physics research. Tingnan po natin yung video na to. Ayan po yung bubble chamber. The video shows part of a bubble chamber being loaded onto a transporter po ng aircraft. Kita niyo po dyan. Ayan po. Sorry, dun po sa voice po natin, music po kasi ganyan na po yung background niya. Since luma na po kasi din niya. Pero kumbaga yung pinaka-bubble chamber po, inaano lang po nila, pinapasa lang po nila. The plane takes off transporting the chamber to an undisclosed location. Galing po yun sa France. Based po sa aking research po dyan sa video na yan. Ayan, ano pong ginagawa po nila dyan? So since pag nilipat na po yun sa bubble chamber po, pinag-aaralan din po nila yung blueprint. Ayan, makikita nyo po dyan. Ayan yung superheated liquid niya po. Charged particles po. Siyempre po may mga radiation din po yan. Kaya kailangan talaga may alam po tayo na mag-asikaso at may knowledge po about po dyan kasi pwede po maka-harmful sa atin. Nasabi ko nga po dun sa effects po nung pwedeng mangyari sa atin, genetic or somatic damage po. Ayan po. Ayan po yung sa blueprint. Ayan po yung sa parang yung sa radiation po. Na pinaprocess po. Ayan, pinapainit na po nila. Ayan. Siyempre po, danger po dyan kapag ano po, ayan po yung blueprint. Ayan, dyan po nila nakita yung mga particles. Ayan po. Next po, sa scenario po na to, assessing, ngayon dumako naman po tayo, tapos na po tayo sa devices, dumako naman po tayo ngayon sa ating scenario, which is, bibigay po ako ng scenario po, which is assessing radiation contamination in a laboratory after spill po. A radiation spill has occurred in a nuclear medicine laboratory during the handling of radioactive materials. The spill involves a vial containing a gamma-emitting radionuclide po, example po na iodine-131. Immediately, action is required to assess and mitigate contamination. Okay. We are now going to address the scenario of this assessing radiation contamination in laboratory after the spill. So, nagkaroon nga daw po ng spill. So, in your one piece of paper, you will provide me with the possible devices and describe how laboratory personnel should follow established safety protocols in this scenario. In this case, you can use your mobile phone to search for and evaluate which device would be the most suitable. Then try to explain the pros and cons of each option and justify your choices based on accuracy, sensitivity, and practicality. Yan po. Pwede nyo na din pong picturean yan, screenshot. SS, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, so these are the examples that we can refer on this kind of scenario. Siyempre po, hindi mawawala po dyan yung sinasabi ko po kanina. The first step is the Geiger-Müller counter po for initial detection and location of gamma radiation. Napakahalaga po nun. Ionization chambers po, yung cloud chambers or the ano po. For accurate dose rate measurements, scintillation detectors and alpha probes po for detailed surface contamination assessment, yung kanina po na pinag-aralan natin. And ito na po yung mga other searches ko po, which is the portable gamma spectrometers, liquid scintillation counters. Ngayon kung ano man po dyan yung na-search nyo, tama naman po kayo. Okay. Then, magkakaano na po yun sa explanation. Now, for our conclusion finally. Okay, for our conclusion, knowing ionizing radiation, its sources, health effects, and means of detection is particularly important for providing safety in the workspaces where the radiation is present. Radiation from either natural sources, such radiation from the universe or from the earth, or man-made sources, such as in medical procedures and industry, can have severe consequences for the health of humans and the environment. Through the utilization of the effective detection methods and safe protocols, we can minimize the consequences of ionizing radiation and encourage of safe handling and use of this. Diba po? Sabi nga po nila, parang dyan sa conclusion, kahit pa yan man-made sources or natural sources, may consequences din po yan kaakibat. Halimbawa, yung X-ray po, nakakatulong naman po sa atin. Pero syempre po, may side effects po yan, like yung po yung radiation. And now, I hope you have learned something about ionizing ionizing radiation today. Understanding ionizing radiation is crucial as it plays a significant role in various fields, including medicine, industry, and environmental science. Remember, ionizing radiation has enough energy to remove tightly bound electrons from atoms, creating ions. While it can be beneficial nga, such as in cancer treatment through radiation therapy, it's also important to be aware of its potential hazard and the safety measures needed to protect ourselves from harmful exposure. Stay informed, stay safe, and continue to expand your knowledge on this vital topic. Thank you for listening. Once again, your future educator from Science 3A, Sir Jericho. Goodbye and God bless you all. Hi guys, thank you po.